Alright guys, we are back. Part 2 of our video. We got 4 OEM shocks. Ended up getting them from Parts Doctor. Got the best price. These are, I've already opened them up, taken a look at them. They're OEM. They haven't been used, anything like that. So, pretty happy with these. Good quality. What's your part number? This box it came in. Good to go. So we are going to be installing these on this washer, and we're going to start with the back ones because those are the easiest ones to do without taking everything on the front all apart, which we will do here in a few. But we're going to start back in the back because essentially it's the same process. It's just a little more difficult to get to on the front, but to get started, I'm just going to take these 2 Phillips screws out. And then this panel is going to come off. All right, now this actually exposes the shocks. I can see them from here. And what we've got, these holes right here, there's 4 holes. These holes are for you to put a long socket into to reach the bolts that secure these shocks. So we're going to figure out what size socket, how long of a length we need, and if we can actually get to them. But we should be able to do it all from right here. I'll reposition the camera a little bit so you can kind of see what's going on. There's the first shock. And there's the second shock. And so you've got your bolt right there. I don't know why it looks like this is flashing. It's not, it's an LED light. Anyway, here's the hole to reach that bolt. So we're gonna use our socket extension, jump right on that bolt. Same thing down there. You can see that bolt, which you jump on from this extension. Now, over here on this side, this sometimes is a pain to get to. You'll notice the holes don't line up. And so what you do is you just very carefully take your foot and kind of push in like that and maneuver this each side if you have to. Just if you have to put your foot over here, just be really careful. Don't hit any of this stuff. And don't put your foot on this thing either. So just kind of carefully place where you need to, and then you can reach those. So let's figure out what type of socket's gonna fit that. All right, looks like 1/2-inch socket's gonna get the job done. Now, of course, you could use a ratchet, but I'm gonna try to use this guy here. Kind of see if I can get on that. All right. First bolt, that's pretty easy. Second bolt, even easier. Okay, and there is a difference between the top and the bottom. See that there? In case you get those mixed up. Okay, bottom slips out pretty easy. Top, we're gonna wiggle out. It takes a little more convincing, but boom. First one's out. Okay, that was pretty easy. All right, let's grab our box of shocks. Now, remember I got 4 of the back shocks, so these 2 are going to look identical. They should anyway. And my goal here is to use the cheaper shock all the way around because based on everything I saw, they're exactly the same, and I think that's just a marketing ploy to get more money out of people. So I'm not doing it. All right, now I'm going to start with the top. I don't know that it makes a difference. Get a feel for where it goes here. Okay. This is more of something I'm feeling for because I can't really see what I'm doing. Tell you what, might be easier then if I start with the bottom. Then I can kind of use its rigidity at that point to get it set in for me. Okay, I got that set there. The bottom goes into place super easy, no problem at all there. I'm just going to be kind of careful, make sure nothing gets cross-threaded there. Now here's where you might have to use your foot to kind of get an angle on this. Actually, there, I don't need to use my foot, I got it. I'll take my watch off so I can scrunch that up. I really want this to go in. I don't want to mess up the little bushing on there, so I'm going to be kind of careful with this. That back in place. Jobs like these guys just take patience. You just gotta be patient. Don't get frustrated with it. Let's see if I can figure out how far off I am. Just no good place to put the light. That's actually not where it's supposed to be either. Okay, finally got that in place. Dropping everything. Again, I'm just kind of hand tightening it. I can feel it getting tighter. Do not want to cross thread this at all. It's not going in on the other side yet. Oh, there we go. Okay, not going to overdo it with this impact either. Okay, that's one side done. Wasn't too bad. Okay, now we're going to move on to the other side, which should be a lot easier because this is not in the way. This is also not on here correctly. Oh, it's broken right there. And this stuff happens because of the shaking around that you get here. So I'll have to use some double-sided sticky tape probably and remount this up just to make sure it doesn't bounce all over the place or move at all. Oh, look at that. We got a ground screw that ripped off. So always good to check for these things here. All this seems secure. Definitely had a shock issue. Okay, so we'll re-secure that and I'll have to rewire that. It's not a big deal, but we're gonna do the same thing on the other side now. I know you can't see it, but I can hardly see it, so just it is what it is. Okay, top. Also make sure you don't get your shocks mixed up. Throw the old ones way far away. Sometimes they look new and then, like I said, you can't tell moving them by hand. At least I can't. I hate to reinstall the old ones. Okay, bottom. Let's see if we can get on this one a little easier. It's the top one's just kind of a pain. It's got to wiggle and be patient. What you don't want to do is you don't want to go jamming too hard. This stuff is razor sharp here and it can slice you up pretty good. I have a scar on this arm from a different Samsung washer that got me real good because I got impatient. If anybody wants to drop in the comments if you've done this before and you know a good tip for getting these out a little easier, I would gladly take it. Undoubtedly somebody's gonna say, eat your Wheaties, get the bigger muscles and then you can do it. Heard it before. Come on, man, that one is stuck good. Oh wait, I almost got it. Yeah, it's coming, it's just really taking its time. Ooh, okay. All right, same thing, we're gonna do the bottom first. Shorter bolt on the bottom. Still can't see what I'm doing. Come on, get in there. Just kind of have to wiggle that and convince it to go in there. Okay, bottom part's on. Then we're just gonna repeat these wiggling steps. This time maybe I can kind of look through that hole there and see if I'm getting it lined up. Got it. Okay. I'm just being super careful with this impact not to overdo it. But they are both on there and they are secure. So, that was not delicate whatsoever. However, it's done. I'm gonna fix this. Backside's done. We'll put the plate back on, be good to go. All right, so we went, reconnected this. And all I did for this was I just added a washer and it re-secured this. So we didn't have to try to zip tie it or anything like that, or no mounting tape. Holds it perfect and secure. So that is now good to go. And we'll go ahead and close this up. All right, now step one for working on the front is actually taking these two screws out on the back. And then this top panel is gonna slide backwards and pull off. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now. Now I am gonna put my gloves back on. Before I get back into this, I still managed to slice myself. Even, it's gonna happen. Maybe some long sleeves would be a good idea, but even with my air conditioner running, it is hot in here. All right, so we're just gonna toss that off to the side. And now we're gonna spin this around and start working on the front. All right, now there's a few things I want to show off here because it is very easy to break the tabs here that keep this in place, nice and secure. And I have broken many of those in the past, so I'm going to show you how not to do that. Now this just has a little, it even says push on it. You just push down and pull out, and that, you can pull that aside, set that aside. Okay, that needs to be exposed because this is going to have to come out to release this. Here. And this is the point where pretty much everybody breaks this. So you get to this point, you think, man, well, I want to come off, and then you just rip it off and break everything. This piece has to come out before this is going to release. So like I said, all the screws on top pretty much here are going to have to come off. And then this one, first I'll just release this thing here, and we'll take this off. What I like to do also is, as I take these screws out, I like to make a spot on the floor and put them in little piles and just make the piles get closer and closer to me. And each pile represents that little section that I was working on. So when I get back to all these screws on top, I'm gonna have a pile for all of them. And they're all the same size. If they weren't, I would set it aside, but it's still gonna be with that pile. So as I start to put it back together, I'm just gonna grab each pile for each section, because we're at top, pull this off, then we have this piece, it'll be its own pile. Then when I have the door screws, that'll be its own pile, and so on and so forth. So we've pulled this out. So I'm gonna make my first little pile on the floor. Go ahead, pull this. All I'm gonna do is just pull this back. I'm not gonna pull it out, I'm just gonna pull it back to release this. Now you'll see this thing, just gonna be very careful and kind of wiggle it. I'm not gonna pull down, that will break the tabs. I'm actually just gonna slightly pull out and kind of wiggle it up, and it's gonna pop those tabs without breaking them. These tabs right here is what I'm talking about. You snap these tabs off and then it won't secure back down. You'll have a floppy bottom half, which is just no fun. So you've got one connection right here. You just push and pull. Now we can set this whole thing aside here. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, I'll go ahead and finish taking my screws off on top. That screw doesn't even need to come, this plastic piece here doesn't need to come off. It'll come off with this whole bracket here. So we'll take that screw out, and we'll go ahead and take, see, there's one on the very edge here. Okay, and that completes, so I didn't even need to take this one off. It didn't release this, so I'm just gonna pop this one back in its place here. Okay, I don't think I took one out of there. This piece needs to come off. This needs to be released from this side. I'll go ahead and take this off just so that it doesn't drop down and get in my way. Maybe. This is going to be either a pull up or push down method, so we'll just leave it like that, and if we need to take it off, we will. Matter of fact, you know what, I'll just put this back. And this was a longer screw, so just keep an eye on what you're taking out. We'll just put that back. But it's released here, it's got a little tab that hooks down in and keeps that thing secure. So this thing is ready. All my top screws now are in a pile. Now we're gonna move on to below the top screws. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out these 4 screws right on top here. It's kind of working in sections on this. It goes a lot faster if you're not explaining everything, and everybody knows I talk too much. So you don't have to say it in the comments. Okay. All right, now that we've taken those out, you can't just pull the top, the door off. There's a couple more screws we got to get. So we took those 4. We also have to get this one. Nope, not that one. Just one. Oh, that's a new smaller door switch screw. So not that one. Normally there's 2 screws right here, which I actually don't see those on here, so maybe we don't need to take that off. Now down, all the way down here on the drain hose, little trap door, there's gonna be, well, maybe don't need to take that off either. I'll show you. Let's pull it off here. Right down here, you're gonna wanna take that screw off, and this little plastic piece is gonna come out. Then just make sure that's not hooked up. You don't have to take that little screw there off. I do believe that one stays. So it's just this one, this little plastic comes off here. There it is. And so we'll get, I don't think you need to disconnect that either. Okay, so now we'll come back up here. Now what we're gonna do to release this off, release that so that this will pull apart. And that's actually pretty easy. There's just a little spring keeper in here. And if you find the end of it, which is right here, you just use either like a screwdriver, which I don't recommend. Actually, what I like to use is needle nose pliers. That way a screwdriver doesn't accidentally punch in and ruin your seal. So I use just some kind of sharp needle nose pliers. And you'll feel there's even a little loop on one side of it. I can't show you because it's kind of behind the seal. You just kind of have to feel for it. If you stuck your face right down on there, you could probably see it. One side of this has a little loop, and you just plug your pliers in it and pull, and it comes right out. Trick's just getting your pliers hooked in there, but once you get your pliers hooked in, like I said, it's spring loaded, and you just pull. So you just get your plier in there like that, you pull, and it pops right off. Now this thing here will release, push back inside. This little cover. And from here, that pops up. The thing just gonna kind of pop off. Just be careful, don't break it. See that there? And we gotta unplug these. It's just a push and pull, push and pull, and last big one right here, push both of the tabs to get it to release. There it is, and it just pulls away. See, we got some wires down here which go down and connect, and I disconnected that as well. This pulled up. Now, do we have screws going through the bottom? I can't even tell. Let's see. Choose our zoom and see. Son of a biscuit eater! Okay, so we have a screw securing our door to the frame on the bottom. I didn't know those were there. That's probably why there is no screws here like I'm used to. So anyway, we need to take those screws out. So we're just gonna push this thing back up, and I'm gonna try to get under there. It's gonna be kind of a pain in the ass. Okay. I tilted the machine this way and got under that one, then back this way and got under that one instead of trying to push it backwards. That wasn't working. So now, whole thing's released. We just put it away, set it somewhere safe where it's not gonna fall on the front glass and break everything. Just set it over here on the floor. Even gonna put a blanket down right to lay on. Okay. Now we're exposed with the entire front. Now it becomes a lot more like what we just did in the back. And I know this seems like a lot, but as long as you're keeping track of your screws, where everything's going, you'll be all right to put everything back in the order you took it apart. So now we're back to this. taking the top. Now, I can't get to that with my drill without taking this off. Let's see if it's the same size. You know what? It is the same size, so let's just take it off real quick. The thing you want to be careful with is by taking this weight off, it's going to allow this to go up, and which might make it a little more of a pain in the butt to get the shocks into place. So if you have to use a wrench or something, you might, but I think we'll be all right. Let's see. Let's go ahead and just take the tops out. Take the tops out first. Okay, one. I'm also gonna do this one at a time, so that one over there is gonna kind of hold everything in place. If you take them both off, this will pop up on you. Those springs will pull it up, and it will be a bigger pain in the butt to do. So one at a time. Oh, it came out so easy compared to the other one. This little top piece just popped out, so we need to make sure that gets put back into place. There's just a little square spot for it. That's what the screw plugs into in the back. So let's grab our new shock, ditch the old shock. Okay, but hold on. This is the important part. So let's pause real quick and talk shocks. So here's what I just pulled off of the front. Let's make sure you can see this. Okay, here's what I pulled off. Here's what's going on. Let's take a look at the top. Looks identical. And aside from being nasty, those look identical to me. Obviously different colors, but they're the same. Okay. Now we're gonna put the bottom in first. That back piece keeps slipping out. So much easier to put this front side back together. Okay, we'll slide the back in its little holder. Push this right through. There it is. That side's done. We're going to move over to the other side, so you're not just staring at the back of my head. Hopefully that's good. Okay. Be super careful. I should have my gloves on. Be super careful with all of this stuff. Super sharp. If you slip, you're gonna cut yourself. So take precautions there. When you're tugging and pulling on stuff like this, it's easy to slip and cut yourself. I will say on this though, so much easier to pull these out the front. Okay, bad one. And you can definitely see those are nasty, rusted, blown out, greasing really bad. But don't be fooled even if they're not. If you went through the process of making sure it wasn't electronic, this is pretty much the only other option. It's not the spider arm, and it's not a control board issue. Even if the shocks look great, it's most likely still the issue. Okay. Bottom and this side's little keeper is also trying to fall out, but we're just gonna put our finger there to keep it in place. Okay, I can see that very easily. To line up, push my bolt in, nice and straight. Okay, not overdoing it with my impact. All right, now we're just gonna reverse the order of what we did. Your front shocks are now good to go. We're gonna take this weight, put it right back on. Very careful with this one. Don't want to drop it on your toes. Feel like that's not how it goes. Might start by hand threading these. Oh yeah. That's how that was to go in, then I definitely should. For whatever reason, that one just is a lot more difficult to get in, but it's back on. Okay, so our weight's back on. Now it's time to bring the door back over. We're just reversing our steps from here. You could also pause at this point and really clean this out if you wanted to. It's taking this part off is much more of a pain in the butt, and I'm not gonna do that. But if you wanted to kind of soak it down with some cleaner, especially get in there, now would be a good opportunity to do that. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm just gonna throw a real good cleaner tab with some hot water. I use a cleaner tab from Amazon. I can link for you. It does a really good job getting these clean. And then once that is done, I will immediately go in and wipe this down and spray clean it. It'll be much more softened up and easier to work with. So, okay. We're gonna bring this back now. Kind of make sure your little drain hose tube gets in the right spot there. Just kind of aim these hook into place. Check it out. A dime. Hey, I'm getting paid for this job. Woo! Let's see here. Okay. Now this one has this little pigtail. You gotta make sure that's pulled through, and you gotta make sure your black hose is pulled through. So I just about chopped that pigtail in half. All right, now it goes through perfect. My pigtails are pulled through, everything's pulled through right there, like it's supposed to be. Now we're gonna come back up here, and I'm just gonna plug this piece back in, just like we pulled it apart. The cover can kind of slide down and get out of your way. Pretty self-explanatory. These plugs only go in one way, and they click into place. Easier if you kind of bring the door back up a little bit. Click that one into place. Click the big one into place. And if you didn't break the cover, then you just put the cover back on. If you did break the cover, you might tape it back on. Just get it in place best you can and run a long piece of duct tape over it, but hopefully you didn't break it. No, I broke my first couple. Okay, that snapped back into place. Now what we're gonna do, all of that's where it's supposed to be. We're gonna open this door. Be kind of careful when you open the door. It puts a lot of weight and it wants to rip it out of your hands. Now this is super sharp here, so be careful with that. We're gonna pull this out. I'm going to pull it all the way through and just kind of let it set on top. It's a little easier to get it in place that way. Now I just kind of work it over the edge, and it pretty well just snaps into place once you get it on there. Nothing too difficult about that. Be a good idea to wear gloves. The only reason I don't wear gloves sometimes because my wife is a nurse, and I know if I chomp a finger off, she's gonna take care of me, so. All right. Now this piece here, I'm gonna pretty well just put it back. I kind of like this. I think it's easier to access when it's over here. So that's how I'm gonna put it back on. I'm gonna start with one side, kind of tuck this spring in, start with one side, just put it into place best I can until it gets to where it doesn't want to go anymore because it's too tight. Try again. Okay, down, down. Oh. Keep going in, my friend. Down. On that. And get in there. It is. All right, now that's back on also. Close that up. Now with everything else back in place, I go ahead, push this back up, allow these tabs to hold everything in place for me, and put my one screw over my plastic guard back in place down here. Of course, we're gonna plug this back in. It only plugs in one way, it only goes in one way. Plastic cover. Okay. The one screw holding that on. Okay, now the last thing I'll do is put the bottom screws back in. I'm not gonna tilt it at this point to put those back in yet. Okay, now we're just gonna reverse the order of how we did things here. So I'm gonna grab my first pile of screws. I'm gonna put it in these 4 holes right here. This little scratch I'll cover up later. Okay, there's that. Now that's secure. Make sure before I get too far into that, that's back on there. Grab my, let's see, at this point, I will grab the console. And we're gonna be very careful and line up the tabs on the bottom and the little holes very carefully. These things break easier than a Pez dispenser. Plug your console. There's a little plug-in right here. Just plug that back in. Okay, very carefully just kind of coax that back into place. Okay. Yep, we're good to go there. Now we're gonna push this back into its little spot here. Like so. Just like that. You can see all the holes line up. Grab my last pile of screws. Alright, we're just putting these back in place. last one goes on the back here. Ah, didn't get me. Okay. And we're good. Now we're gonna put the soap tray back in. You don't have to push anything. It clicks into place. We're gonna slide our back panel back on. It's actually easier to show this from the front. It slips on, just a small gap here. Everything will lay flat. Then you slide it forward and your tabs will match up like they're supposed to. Then I've got 2 big old screws for the back, 2 screws for underneath the bottom, and we're done. Now we're gonna hook it up, make sure it works. Okay, we're back. Everything's hooked up. Legs are level. First thing we're gonna do is we're going to do a calibration on the spin cycle. Turn this on. And for that, we're gonna hold the temp and delay end again, just like we did in part 1, at the same time. CB for calibration, we're gonna hit go. Gonna let it do its thing. Kind of see what's going on in there a little bit. And the drum has to be empty, can't be any water in there. Okay, just like I did last time. Now I'm gonna fill it up with pretty heavy load of towels, shop towels, hand towels, that kind of thing. And we'll put it on the rinse cycle just to see if it gets past or through that with wet clothes. All right, that's a pretty heavy load. I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna put it on rinse and spin to 19 minutes, high. We're gonna hit go. What are we doing? Are we gonna go for it, or are we gonna stop and reset? 8-minute mark. Bounce to it. You see it's bouncing a little bit. 7-minute mark. Holy crap, I think we got it. See the water right there piling in from the high-speed spin. If we surpass 7 minutes, be golden. Look at that. Getting up there. All right, and we've surpassed the 7-minute mark. We're spinning super fast. So if this were the NASA filming studios, this would be a touchdown on the moon. Woo! We fixed it. So in conclusion, Yes, we can use the cheaper shocks all the way around. There was absolutely no issue with bounce or off balance whatsoever. And this is a really heavy load of towels. I was almost a little nervous putting that much in there, but it did perfect. So that's gonna conclude this video. I'll go through now and prep these to be sold, shine them up real nice and get everything deep cleaned. Guys, I appreciate you taking the time to watch my video and listening to me ramble on and talk a whole lot. Hopefully this helps somebody out, that you want to fix your own machine if you're a rebuilder and caught anything you found useful. I hope it helps somebody out. If you'd have anything you'd like to add that you think I need to know, drop it in the comments. I do read the comments and I try to respond to everything, and I take everything in there and learn from it. So I appreciate the comments. Thanks guys. You guys have a great day.